Whoa.
Okay. Got it. All right. So we're on 1299. If you remember, we said last week, and I do not have notes. I apologize, everybody, not having notes. Let me do my disclaimer. Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, the class studying apples from the orchard for the second time beginning after Pesach 2014. This class meets in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel, blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. I think this is the fourth week that we're doing this chapter. What we said was that there are 5 states of Chesed and 5 states of Gvura. The 5 states of Gvura need to be sweetened, so they descend like to Yesod, to the bottom of Zerampin. From the 5 states of Chesed, only 3 descend. And those 3 sweeten the top 3 of Gvura. Now, each of those has a name of Hashem. Havaya, whose value is 26. So if you have 1 state of Chesed and sweetening 1 state of Gvura, there's 2 Havayas, that becomes 52. We said the second state of Chesed sweetens the second state of Gvura, that's another 52. And so too with the third one. Only 3 of the states of Chesed descend to sweeten states of Gvura. So that leaves 2 more states of Gvura that are not sweetened. They end up when those 3 sets go back up, then the 2 states of Gevura that are left, the 2 lowest states, sweeten each other. And that's another 52. So we have 4 52s. 52 is Nun Beis, or Beis Nun. 4 of those means the 4 Banim, the 4 sons of the Haggadah. So that's what we've done till now. Today we're going to continue. We said last week, I think we talked about the animals, domesticated animals, non-domesticated animals. We said that they're the heaviest because they come from the lowest of the states of Gevura, those 2 states of Gevura that sweeten each other.
Bovine.
Yeah.
The cows.
Bovine, like bovine providence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everything happens. Okay, so now we're on 1299, and this is a continuation of chapter 1. So now we're going to go to the birds. Now, the birds, is what he's going to say is that the birds come from those higher 3 states of Chesed and Gvura, where the 3 states of Chesed sweeten or temper the 3 states of Gvura. Each set now is 52. So the 3 sets are 3 52s. A few things that are different about birds to keep in mind. First of all, the Torah lists 2 kosher signs for animals. They have to chew their cud and they have to have split hooves. We spoke about this last week. The birds, the Torah doesn't list kosher signs. The Torah lists the non-kosher birds. And it does this in 2 places. In one place, there are 20, I think, 20, if I'm not mistaken, one of them has a list of 20 non-kosher birds. And the second place has a list of 21 non-kosher birds. What this means is that the Torah chooses to do what's shorter. The kosher animals, the Torah mentions that there are 10 kosher animals. Now, today, we can't even identify what all 10 are. The commentaries have different suggestions, different ideas. Obviously, the bovine family we know. The sheep and goat family we know. I think one's a deer, and then there are different, looks like different types of deer. Maybe gazelle, maybe impala.
Moose.
There's others. What?
Moose.
Meese. Moose.
Moose.
What's the plural of moose? What's the plural of goose?
Goose.
Goose. So the Torah says the suggestions are either a type of gazelle, a type of a steinbuck, I think it says, different things like this. We're not even sure what they are. So if you look in the English, some of the translations, they just write the Hebrew word because they're not going to follow one or another. But obviously, a few of them we have no question. For the birds, the Torah makes the list of the non-kosher birds, and it appears that in the Gemara adds a few more. So the Gemara lists 24. And then anything else, technically, theoretically, is kosher. Practically speaking, we only consider a kosher bird today. We only consider kosher bird something that we know for a fact. Rabbi Edelman talked about this all the time, that we have a tradition, one generation to the next, that this is a kosher bird. So he says that there are some birds that were unknown in certain parts. They lost it in places. They lost the tradition. Other places had that bird. They had the tradition that it's kosher, and therefore they have eaten it all. They continue to eat it all these years. So,
Like a turkey.
Turkey. Edelman, you say it on a guinea hen, but that was I heard from Rabbi Edelman. Guinea hen are the one in the poultry market that screech, make a lot of noise. They're the ones that I've seen are like a dark gray with white spots. Okay, so we're going to point out some of the differences between them because of where they are. So we said that the animals come from the two lowest states of Gvura that aren't sweetened from Chesed. They're sweetened from each other. The birds are from the upper three states of Gvura that get sweetened by states of Chesed. And therefore, because they're higher, they're lighter too. Lighter means that they're able to fly. They're not weighed down by their heavy weight. Except, what's his name? Not Bambi. Who's the other guy? Who's the elephant who flies?
Dumbo.
Dumbo. Except for Dumbo. And then we have, and so we have, these are three sets. Each one is 52. 3 of the 52 is 156, is the gematria of Oph. Oph meaning bird.
Bird. Okay.
Because it's from the 3 sets 52. Okay, Alan, please begin 1299. And Gershon, you don't have a book? Okay.
His book doesn't have this.
Right, it's the first edition.
Right.
Okay, so I won't call on you to read. Alan, go ahead.
The following is a continuation of the passage quoted on page 556 to 563, which we reviewed before proceeding. Birds derive from those 3 states of Gevura corresponding to the higher Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferes that were sweetened. As was stated, these sweetened states of Gevura are manifestations of 352 names Havaya. And when they are combined with the 3 names Havaya that manifest the 3 states of Chesed, their numerical value is 3 times 52. The numerical value of the word for bird, Oph, 156, is thus 3 times 52. Bird, Oph, 70 plus 6 plus 80, 156, and 3 times 52 is 156.
Okay, and next we're going to say 156. That's something else we know very obvious is the gematria of Yosef. And Yosef is Yesod. He connects the Yesod with the 3 names of 52. Go ahead.
Corresponding to these 352 names, Yesod is identified with Yosef, as is explained in our exposition of the commandment of circumcision in Parshas Lech Lecha. The numerical value of Yosef is 10 plus 6 plus 60 plus 80 is also 156.
And he doesn't explain here what's the connection of Yesod now with these 3 states of Gvura that were sweetened. Okay, so they are higher. They're from the higher states of Gvura than the animals are. That's why they can fly. it says that, and what are the three states? Chesed and Gvura. We know that in the anatomy, Chesed and Gvura is the right appendage and the left appendage from the torso. Right arm, left arm, or right wing and left wing. And then the two lower ones that the animals are from are Netzach and Hod. They correspond to the feet. So the feet would be more like animals, and the arms would be more like the birds. He also connects it with the four elements. Gvura is fire, and fire is always reaching upward, like these. And I guess they birds from those who study this thing, the scientists who study this, that birds are connected with the element of fire. Element here, Dr. G, meaning 4 elements, not the 106, not the whole table. Okay, Alan.
This is why they can fly. They are manifestations of supernal states of Gevura. In addition, whereas Netzach and Hod correspond anatomically to the legs, Chesed and Gevura correspond to the arms and wings. Therefore, they can fly. In particular, this is so because they are specifically manifestations of states of Gevura, which are associated with the element of fire, which flies above all other elements, as is known. It follows that birds manifest the fire of Gevura, as naturalists affirm, particularly inasmuch as they are specifically manifestations of the wings of these states of Gevura. The elements referred to here are the 4 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and fire. Of these 4, fire is considered the lightest.
Okay, so we explained last week that the animals, they get sweetened, but some are kosher animals, some are not kosher animals. They have to have 2 things. We said that the chewing the cud shows that they themselves were sweetened, and then the split hooves shows that they reach down into malchus in their sweetened state without being intercepted by the by klipa. In birds, don't have a kosher sign. Birds don't have a kosher sign. The Torah just lists the ones that are not kosher. But that's the idea, that they don't have a kosher sign. Okay, go because they're from the higher. They are from the higher, but still there could be. It says there are birds that are not kosher. Go ahead, Alan. As is known.
As is known, it must sometimes happen that the forces of evil suck from these supernal states of Gevura, despite the fact that they have been sweetened, as mentioned. For this reason, in the case of animals, a single sign of kashrus, chewing the cud, which indicates sweetening, does not suffice. But the sign of split hooves is also required in order to indicate that the forces of evil have not latched onto them. Therefore, also in the case of birds, even though the states of Gevura from which they derived have been sweetened, it sometimes happens that the forces of evil succeed in attaching themselves to them. From this phenomenon derive non-kosher birds.
Okay, so we have a much greater number of non-kosher birds. By the way, it does say, okay. And that's whatever they're going to say in the next thing is what I've already explained. So go ahead, Alan, in contrast.
In contrast, kosher fowl derive from the aspect of these states of Gevura over which the forces of evil held no sway. Since these states of Gevura are sweetened, the powers of evil generally have no power over them. They possess such power only occasionally, when the sins of humanity increase greatly. Therefore, Most species of fowl are kosher, and unlike the case of animals, there is not a specific number of them. On the contrary, they are all kosher except for the 24 non-kosher species listed in Scripture, as the sages mentioned in the Talmud. The Torah gives identifying signs for kosher animals, which simply lists all the non-kosher types of fowl. According to the sages, this is because most types of mammals are not kosher. So the Torah chose the more succinct option of enumerating those types that are. And because most types of fowl are kosher, so the Torah in their case chose the more succinct option of enumerating those types that aren't. It would follow from this that any type of fowl that is known not to be of the 24 types prohibited explicitly in the Torah should be permitted for consumption. In practice, however, since we can no longer precisely identify all 24 of the prohibited types, we can only eat types of fowl that we have a solid tradition regarding their permissibility.
Okay, so I said that there are no identifying signs. Torah doesn't give any. Our rabbis, however, have observed some. One is that that birds of prey are not kosher. All the birds the Torah lists are birds of prey. So there's something in their system that we don't want to that we don't want to ingest, and I'm guessing that worms don't count. It also says that they, if I'm not mistaken, that one of their claws is behind, like an opposable thumb, right? An opposable claw. Claws or claw?
Yeah. So it grasps. So it,
But like from the back.
yeah,
That's like 3 in front,
grasps.
1 in the back. And
Yeah.
kosher fowl have their things in the front. I'm not 100% sure on that. All their claws in front.
The hawk, you see a hawk come down and it grasps. It grasps the fish or it grasps the squirrel. Yeah, like
they got sharp claws and they come
sharp
down
claws.
at 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are some signs that the rabbis have observed. So it's like much less official type of thing. And so the idea here that he points out here is that klipa, that there could be such thing as non-kosher animals. Klipa could have a hold on the animals. But it's not as official as it is for animals. Go ahead, Alan. It's for this reason.
It is. Oh, it is for this reason that no identifying signs are mentioned in the Torah for birds. Nonetheless, the sages gave identifying signs for them, since despite the purity of their spiritual origin, the forces of evil still possess some sway over them.
And next he says that since the animals, we said, come from the lowest 2 states of Gvura, together that makes 52. The 3 higher ones, the 3 higher states of Gvura, are the source for the birds. And we have 3 sets of 52. And that's why there are a lot more kosher birds and kosher animals. Go ahead, most types.
Most types of fowl are kosher, also because they derive from 6 names Havaya, 3 times 52. Therefore, there are many types of kosher birds, in contrast of domesticated and wild animals, which derive from only 1 52 name. There are only a few kosher types.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Since 52 is 2 times 26, 26 being the numerical value of the name Havaya, 3 52 names are the equivalent of 6 simple names Havaya.
Okay, so before we talked about 2 types of animals, behema and chaya. Behema is a much heavier animal, it's bovine, And I think sheep and goats too. Chaya is something that's much lighter. It's a non-domesticated animal. Here they call it wild animal. And that would be things like it's like things that run fast. Tigers, cheetah leopards, deer. So he says that the lowest are, or with the lowest source are the behema, domesticated animals. Higher than that are the wild animals or non-domesticated animals, and above that are the birds in order of where they stand, and we see that here too. Go ahead, Alan.
Since wild animals are lighter, that is more agile, than domesticated mammals and superior to them, as mentioned above, there are therefore 7 permitted types of them, whereas of domesticated mammals, there are only 3 permitted types.
As I mentioned before, there are 10, Torah lists 10 kosher animals. Okay, continue.
By the same token, inasmuch as fowl derive from those 3 supernal sweetened states of Gevura, they can fly easily, for they are superior to both wild and domesticated animals. We thus see that natural agility is an indication of a superior spiritual source.
Okay, now the Torah so lists kosher birds, kosher animals, kosher birds, kosher fish, and I'm not sure if that's here, and then kosher grasshoppers or locusts. The Torah tells us which ones are kosher. Today, basically, we do not know. Even hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, they already said we don't know. I think today they say they can identify them. There are some people who say I wouldn't eat it. So now we're also going to explain locust. Locust he's going to say come from all of the 452 names. We had 352 names, and then a fourth one. Locust come from all 4, and locust is Aleph Resh Beis Hey. That's 1, 200, 2, and 5 makes 208. 52 times 4, 208. Yes, and the word arba actually means to increase. So it also this great increase. Why can they increase so much? Because they're from all 4 names of 52. The locusts are mentioned a few places in the Torah. One place we know is the plague against the Egyptians, plague number 8. The other place is in the book of Yoel. Hashem sent the plague of locusts in the time of Yoel. But there were many different types of locusts in that, and it was just the greatest natural disaster pandemic of locust ever in history. But it was a combination of different species of locust. Okay, go ahead, Alan.
As you
Now,
asked,
now.
now locusts derive from all 452 names together. Thus, the numerical value of the word for locust, arba, 208, is 4 times 52. For this reason, locusts multiply prolifically, as it is written: the abundant locust, the chewing locust, the demolishing locust, and the cutting locust. My great army that I sent among you, and the locusts covered the entire surface of the land, so the land became dark. This is because they are derived from all 4 sweetened 52 names together. It is also for this reason that they fly like birds. Locust arba, 1 plus 200 plus 2 plus 5 equals 208, and 4 times 52 is 208.
Okay, and like we said before, that the birds are in the air and they fly because they're from the element of fire. And fire is the one that's always reaching upwards. Go ahead, Alan.
As you know, even the naturalists say that the nature of birds is derived from the element of fire. This being why they fly in the air like the flame of a lamp constantly ascends. The states of Gevura have the characteristic of burning fire that derives from them.
Okay, we had this before about this idea of fire, but last time it was from the book that's quoted on the left, which is Shar HaMitzvahs. And this one is on the right, Sefer Likutim. It's on the right, yeah, from Sefer Likutim. But he goes back and, he's taking from both. He's calling from both. Okay. So we said Arba. Arba is the locust. And the word by itself means to increase. I'm going to say increase. Maybe it means increase exponentially. So where do we have this? The Torah says, we just read this a few weeks ago in the Parsha Hazinu. We read it before Yom Kippur, so that's a week ago. It said that the people will look and wonder, how can it be that one person, this is talking about armies, battles, that one person will chase 1,000, Ushnayim Yanisu Revava, and two people will cause 10,000 to flee. If not, there must be that their rock has sold them out. Hashem Hiskiram, and Hashem, I guess, shut them down. So you could have one person chasing 10,000, two people chasing, one person chasing 1,000, two people chasing 10,000. So he asks in the next paragraph, that doesn't make sense, right? Alan, you're the big mathematician here. If one person chases 1,000, then how many do you need to? Then how many do two people chase? 2,000. How can, if one person chases one, it doesn't make sense mathematically. If two chases 10,000, they said that it's because of exponential. So the more you go, with every number that you add, you're adding a much greater ability. So it's true. One person can only chase 1,000, but with two people, you're not doubling your power or your abilities. You're increasing your abilities many more than just double, by many more than just double. And therefore, two can chase 10,000. And this is the idea, what he says here. He's going to connect it to arba, the word for locust, which means to increase. Jim, are you ready?
Yeah. To explain, the sages tell us, commenting on the verse, how could one of us pursue 1,000 of our enemies and two of us cause 10,000 of our enemies to flee? That the positive effect of many people performing God's commandments is incomparably greater than the effect of only a few people performing his commandments. For the logical calculation would imply that if one person can pursue 1,000, two should be able to pursue only 2,000, not 10. Instead, however, each addition produces a greater aggregate effect than its simple arithmetic sum. This can be illustrated in how a 4-letter word has 24 permutations, a 5-letter word has 120 permutations, and a 6-letter word has 720 permutations. Thus, each added increment in the cause produces a disproportionate increase in the effect. The number of possible permutations of a given word is calculate, or it should be outcalculated, by the factorial of the number of its constituent letters. That is the product of all the integers from 1 to that number. Thus, 4 equals 1 plus 2 plus 3. 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 is 24. 5 is 1 times...
It says 5 factorial.
5.
That's what the symbol means. 5 factorial.
5 factorial the little exclamation point. Equals 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 equals 24. 5 factorial equals 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 is 120. 6 factorial is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 is 720.
Okay, so we can see from there how it's not, what's the word, not correlated? It's not a one-to-one.
Not arithmetically correlated. It's
Yeah,
geometric.
Or it's not one-to-one correspondence.
It's not arithmetically correlated, it's geometrically or exponentially coordinated.
Exponentially correlated. So same thing here. You have the animals come from one combination of 52. So the domesticated animals, the Torah lists 3 animals that are kosher. The highest, the birds have 3 names of 52. You have a lot more types of birds that are kosher, and when you have 4 names of 52, remember that birds, oaf is 156, 3 times 52, and arbe, locust, is 208, 4 times 52. Then you've got locust all over the place. Go ahead, Jim.
So similarly here, when 2 of the 4 52 names Kavaya join, a limited number of mammals are produced. When 3 52 names are joined, many more types of birds are produced than the types of mammals. When all 4 52 names are joined, locusts as numerous as the sand on the seashore are produced. Should I keep going?
Yeah, I'm trying to make sense of the next thing.
Okay.
Go ahead, you can read it.
It follows that this phenomena is similar to permutation of letters of increasingly long words. When the chesed of the states of Gevurah joins with Tiferet of the 3 states of chesed, it produces a number of types of creatures. When Gevurah of the states of Gevurah joins with Tiferet of the states of chesed, a different number of types of creatures is produced, just like letter permutations.
Okay. Whatever. The idea, I think, that different combinations produce different amounts.
This is the mystical. Okay, good.
The next thing is so keep in mind that the 208 is Arbe locus, 208, 4 times 52. This is also the gematria of Yitzchak.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we associated Oaf, 156, which means bird, 156 to Yosef. So it seems like we're now going to connect the 208 with Yitzchak. I think that's what it means, and which is also 208. And this is from Book of Yoshua, and we mention it in the Haggadah,
Mm-hmm.
where it said, "I multiplied the seed and gave him Yitzchak." Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay, so this is the mystical implication of the verse, I multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac. As is known, Isaac was a manifestation of the 5 states of Gevurah as they still exist in Zeranpin. For this reason, Isaac was male, even though he was a manifestation of the states of Gevurah, which are female.
Okay,
manifestation
of state of Gevurah, but it remains within Zeranpin. I think these end up going to which is Nukva, but within Zeranpin it stays as male.
Yeah, as was explained earlier in this section, Atzilus is male relative to the 3 lower worlds, which are relative to it are female.
That's Atzil. There are 4 stages of creation. The first stage is male, and one way to look at it is the first stage is male, and the lower 3 are female. So that we talk that the 1 is in a group by itself, and the 3 are in a group by themselves.
Okay. The word for I multiplied in the verse quoted is the same for the word for locust. Hence the verbal association between Isaac and the locust.
Okay, so the verse that we quoted from Yehoshua says,
Mhm.
"For arbe esar, I increased his seed, or multiplies, I increased the seed." Arbe is I increase the seed, same word for locust. So we have 5 states of Gevura. Together they form 52. They form 4 names of Hashem of 52. 4 times 52 is, we said, 208, like Yitzchak.
Isaac, yeah. There you go. So that's what this says. The 5 states of Gevura become the 452 names as above. Thus, the numerical value of Isaac, Yitzchak, 208, is the same as that of 4 times 52, as stated above in our comments to the commandment of circumcision in Parsha Lech Lecha. It is also the numerical value of locust, Arba, which is also a manifestation of the 52 names as stated. Okay.
Okay, and then this why it says I promised Abraham a great nation. How did it happen? It happened through Yitzchak, because Yitzchak is the gematria of Arba, to increase, and it's the 50. It's 4 names of 52.
Okay.
And then we find the same word, Arba. We find it a few other places. We find it when Hashem, after the Akedah, when Hashem gives the bracha to Avram and to Yitzchak, that because of the Akedah, the binding of Yitzchak, they will have a large number of descendants. And we also find it mentioned in Gan Eden, when after they ate from the tree of knowledge, and Hashem said to Chava that I will increase your pains, your suffering in raising children, pregnancy and labor. Okay, that's in 1304. It thus follows.
It thus follows that in order to multiply Abraham's seed, God gave him Isaac, the numerical value of whose name is the same as that of the word for locust, which are the manifestation of the 452 names mentioned above. This then is the full mystical implication of the verse. I multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac. In my Chaim Vital's humble opinion, this is also the mystical implication of the verse, I will greatly increase your difficulty in raising children and in your pregnancy.
Most likely, what he means is that implying that she will have, the Chava will have billions and billions of descendants.
Right.
Okay, we haven't talked about the fish yet.
Here they come.
Here they come. We did talk about them. We said Doug is Gimel, is Dalet and Gimel, 3 and 4.
You're right.
We spoke about it like a month ago or more at the beginning. And 7. We said 3 and 4 is 7 for the 7 spheres. But I don't remember exactly what we said. Okay, so for fish, it says here they multiply like fish. In English, we do have a word for we say to be fruitful. Okay, we don't have a word to be fishful, but I think that we have fruitful because the Torah uses the word for fruit to mean to increase or multiply. So therefore, in English, it became accepted to say to be fruitful. But the Torah also uses this word for fish. The Torah says they will be fishful. Okay, the Torah uses that expression. It uses the word for fish as a verb. They will be like fish, or they will multiply like fish, perhaps. He just translates it as multiply. Okay, so go ahead. Let's see what it talks about the fish.
Fish are also derived from the joining of the above mentioned 452 names. They therefore therefore they also multiply prolifically, as is written, and may they multiply like fish throughout the land.
Okay, as I said, the word for fish is Gimel and Dalid. And Dalid and Gimel, Doug, which is 3 plus 4, total of 7. Let's see what he says next.
This phenomenon is alluded to in the word for fish, Doug. The letter Dalid signifies the 4th 52 name, which is sweetened on its ascent. The letter Gimel signifies the three previously sweetened 52 names.
He always figures out a way. Always.
Gotta be.
So therefore, Doug, just like the birds that come from
Yeah.
all four sets of 52, the fish
Go to
also
fish.
come from all four sets of 52.
The word for fish spelled Dalet Gimel, the numerical value of these two letters are 4 and 3 respectively. The Arizal now points out the difference between the derivation of fish and locust.
Okay, go ahead.
There are two differences between locusts and fish. Firstly, in the case of locusts, all 452 names are joined together in one union. This is not the case with fish. They are not all joined together. Rather, the first three were joined, and the fish initially derived from them since they were sweetened first. And only later they derived more of their essence from the fourth 52 name, which is alluded to by the Dalet in the word for fish, as was just explained. Secondly, locusts were derived from all of the individual calculations of the 52 names, whose combined numerical value is the same as that of the word for locust as above. Contrast, fish are simply the general sum of the four of them themselves without regard to their numerical values, just four single entities.
Wrap up.
Since locusts have these two advantages over fish, locusts fly, whereas fish do not.
Again, so he had two things. Number one, all 452 names are joined together for the locust, and for fish, it was first the first three, and then later came the fourth one. And secondly, the locusts were each individual calculation, but the fish are just like a general thing of the four.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Now we go backwards.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have the notes. It's been a fun day. We had a Sycamobile and we drove around. Rebbe Wolf and I were visiting different places. The Sycamobile, Sukkah on wheels, on a pickup truck, on Ruvain's pickup.
Okay.
So it was interesting. By the end, I was thinking like, maybe I shouldn't have the class. I looked it over. Thank God it worked. I'm really glad that we did it and we pulled it off. I'm also glad Gershon. I wasn't sure if you're able to come, so it's really good. Gershon, do you have my yarmulke?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to get it.
Tomorrow,
What?
Tomorrow.